There's one time where a guy growled at us like a dog, and I was like, okay, have a good day. See you later. I'm not going to mess with that guy. That was just bizarre. That was actually in the south of the Netherlands, which was kind of funny. And I was just like, all right, interesting. And so we kept walking, and that actually happened quite a few times in that city, but I don't know what was up with that. But it was super funny.
I remember there was one time we were driving home, and this guy came bouncing across the road on his bike, and like he wasn't just pedaling, he was like running on this bike. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So we kind of pulled over to see like if he needed help with something. And all of a sudden, out of the middle of nowhere, a cop came out and just tackled the guy on his bike and like braced himself like with the guy when he hit the ground, and they threw him in handcuffs and put him in the back of a police car and drove off. And it was just like one of the like weirdest, like what the heck? And there's so many things that happen like that in the Netherlands. Like they just happen quick. And if you're not watching, you miss these like just crazy experiences where you're like, what the heck?
They like to, you know, stare into your soul, so stare right back. You'll see mothers going to pick up their kids from school or on the way back from the grocery store, and they're on their bike, and they have a kid on the front, and they have, you know, two kids on the back, and then they have the grocery bags on the side, and it's just this overloaded bike, but, you know, they're just pedaling along, doing their thing. I think almost the entire western portion of the country has all been reclaimed, and it's, you know, below sea level. The city of Amsterdam specifically, when they did it, they have these huge pillars like under the ground that basically hold the entire city up. Another interesting thing is because it is all reclaimed, the dikes around the country, you know, that keep the water out and stuff, every month they sound the alarms, the dike alarms. And so you wake up and you hear these alarms going off. Crazy Dutch foods. Number one is definitely the hotting. And they're holding the fish above their head and you eat it raw. If you cover it with onions, it's not so bad.
All right, so this is kind of crazy about the Dutch people. In fact, they're world famous for just being brutally honest. And I kind of love that. They don't beat around the bush. So I remember we were visiting this lady with my companion and this other lady, Sister Hasenleger. And she's kind of a chunky person. And this lady, they were strangers. This lady looked at Sister Hasenleger and said, "Wat ben jij flink dik? What, you're rather fat." And Sister Hasenleger just laughed and said, "Thank you." And we moved on to the discussion. They just are very frank and honest about their feelings. So you always know where you stand with the Dutch people. Obviously, I'm brown. And when I lived in the Netherlands in the 80s, I had hair. And I wouldn't say it was an afro, but it wasn't straight. It was kind of a bush. And I remember the first 2 months in the Netherlands, someone looking at me around Christmas time and saying, "Oh, the broer van Zwarte Piet." And what that translates is, "Oh, look, it's the brother Black Pete." Black Pete, Zwarte Piet, is Santa Claus's helper. So you have Sinterklaas, and then his helper, he's on a horse, Sinterklaas is. He comes from Spain, and he brings his helper, Zwarte Piet. And he's a gentleman from, he's a Moor. And so he's a black guy in this clothing from the, oh boy, he kind of looks like a court jester in a way without the hat. He has an afro. Nowadays, though, it's blackface with an afro. So I'm not sure if you might have to edit this, but there's a controversy. It's very controversial now because blackface here in America, that's very racist. In the Netherlands, it's over the last, I'm going to say 10, 20 years, it's been kind of a controversial subject. So now Zwarte Piet, he has now different colors. He could be rainbow colored. He could be yellow, pink, whatever. But they're trying to, it's frowned upon now to have the black face and the afro. So there's a controversy now of having the regular Black Pete, Zwarte Piet, and the new up-and-coming Black Pete. And so I don't mind either one. I can see the controversy. But yeah, I was called Zwarte Piet, the broer van Zwarte Piet. That's just kind of the fun culture of the Netherlands. I was never offended by it.
Gouda, or Gouda, as everyone calls it. My parents still tease me about it. So it's like the cheese staple of Holland. Every Thursday they have a cheese market, and you know, all of the locals are walking around with their little wooden shoes and just tons of displays of cheese, and you know, this constantly smells like cheese throughout the week.
And Sinterklaas is their version, I guess, of Christmas. How we celebrate Christmas here with the presents and the tree and everything like that. They celebrate that on the 5th of December. So it's at the beginning of the month, and there are stories upon stories behind Sinterklaas, but the main idea is that Sinterklaas comes in. He is a tall, slender man who wears a really tall hat, and he rides in on a white horse named Amerigo, and he has all these helpers. They call him Zwarte Pieten. But at that time, when Sinterklaas starts happening and the buildup happens, like the excitement of all the children and everything happens in November to early December, people just love that time of year, and it's really important to them. So also vacations. It might not be a cultural thing, but the Dutch have vacation time, and they'll go on vacations for 2 or 3 weeks at a time and just spend time with their family. And I really love that about them.